the Ironman World Championships in Kona, Hawaii. The pinnacle Ironman single-day endurance event in the world. The question is, can you qualify for Kona? Hi, I'm retired professional triathlete, CEO of Dimond TJ Tollakson, and here I am telling you that you can qualify for Kona, and I'm gonna tell you how to do it.
Well, what are we waiting for?
I put in a lot of training, and I've been around a lot of age group athletes that have qualified for Kona, and I know some of you out there are looking and saying, man, I would love to qualify for Kona, but it's never going to happen. I'm here to tell you that it can happen. It's just a matter of time and commitment. We'll start with just the pure statistics. 3% of all triathletes qualify for Kona. That's it. So you got to be in the top 3% just to make that. And does natural ability come into play with this? Yes, but when we're talking about an Ironman, we're talking about a trainable aerobic activity.
Help!
You can get there. You can get there by consistently training the right amount over several years. It's really simple. If you're a top level pro, in my career I was training around 1,300 to 1,500 hours per year, just shy of 30 hours of training per week, 28 high hours per week, every week, in season, off season, that's your average. And so some weeks you're gonna take totally off, and you need to have that kind of average. You drop that down to the level of a top age group athlete. Tough because a lot of these people may coach as a living. They kind of live a pro lifestyle, so they may be training similarly, like 1,000 to 1,300 hours per year. So that's 20 plus hours every week, year round. And then you go all the way down to what a KQ age grouper takes, okay? And really the baseline of what that takes is 700 hours a year. Obviously there's some exceptions. If you've got a crazy high VO2 max, you've got a crazy history in endurance sports, you're going to be able to get there a little bit faster. We gotta take a break, we'll be right back. Boom, we're shooting YouTube live. We're gonna talk about this real quick. All right, so today we're talking about qualifying for Kona. Have you ever qualified for Kona?
Oh, unfortunately I cannot say that I've qualified for Kona.
Okay, but it's a goal, right?
I'd say it's one of those goals that I haven't enunciated, so you have to enunciate a goal for it to be something that you're actually on track to pursue. But yeah, it's in the back of my mind that it should be possible.
Okay, so how many hours a week were you training
To not make it to Kona?
to
My last
attempt to make it to Kona?
I was probably peaking at just the exercise component, not including changing logistics. I was probably getting up to 15 hours on my bigger weeks.
Okay, and what kind of background do you have in endurance sports?
I have a good background in running with multiple marathons. And
What's your run PR?
259 this year.
259 this year, 256 PR. Prior to that, you have a history in what?
I'm a pretty solid B-level cyclist, B-level by Swift standards.
Okay.
And
prior to that?
Prior to that?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is there?
We're getting into.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm a rower. As is Mike Steinthal, my
Right.
intern for the summer.
Okay. I say this because all this has an impact, right? Because it's not like doing a triathlon. You just started with a base of nothing, right? You weren't off the couch, right? You have a long history, years and years of endurance conditioning built into your body, right? Training about 15 hours a week. So 15, Frank's really good at math too, 15 hours times 52 weeks a year would put you at how many?
Well, 520 and another, so 250, 260. So is that 780? I think I got to 780.
780, okay. 780 is right.
How'd you do that?
Workout, plenty of rest.
The kind of baseline minimum for Kona qualification is 700 hours in a year. So if Kona is really a goal and what you want to do, you need 700 hours to qualify.
Makes sense because I felt like I undertrained.
Right, okay, so 1,000 hour average for the year. So that's going to be roughly Well, we'd say 20 hours a week with 2 weeks totally off, right? I mean, that's perfect, right? So 20 hours a week makes it a slam dunk though, right? So that's the type of commitment that it takes. The other kind of big factors that we have in here, one is race selection, which is really important. So someone like Frank would do well on any course that has a lot of hills, mainly because he's lean, he has a good running background. Strength of field obviously matters at a lot of these Ironmans too. The Des Moines race probably had a relatively modest field strength, right. Probably in the lower 50%. So that would play to your strengths in qualifying, right? There are a lot of factors that go into this, but the biggest one being training hours. The next one, have a little luck with some race selection. And then the big one that you touched on that we're gonna touch on now is body mass index. Okay, so there's an ideal lean body mass index for every sport out there, okay? And in triathlon, female needs, an Ironman needs to be 20 and a male needs to be 21. And in a marathon, the female's 18 and the male's 19. So your body mass index is 2 points higher for an Ironman versus a marathon. So this is kind of important too.
There's the new pro woman that just went under 8 hours. That was the competitor.
Yes.
Tisberg. I believe she might be. She's very proud that she doesn't have the typical waif body type. So maybe there's a little bit of a range there.
There's definitely a range, and I'm personally on the higher side of the range too. At a BMI of 23, if 21's ideal, I'm 2 over, right?
I'm muscular.
But who are you kidding, Will? You're one sandwich away from fat.
Yeah, right.
It's true, Will. You have put on weight.
What?
If you take the average 150-pound male, and their body fat would average about 12%, if you just analyze the average person who's doing a triathlon. Okay, and if you took that down to a lean racing weight, down to 7%, okay, that would drop 5 percentage points off their body fat. That would roughly be 7 or 8 pounds that they would lose. Well, those 7 to 8 pounds of body fat equate to 2 minutes per pound over the whole Ironman. Okay, so that's 14 to 16 minutes you're gonna go faster in an Ironman.
That's a lot.
Now, some of the exceptions to this rule happen when you're talking about guys that are just muscular and lean. Having the right body mass really does matter. You wanna make sure that you're doing this, and I think if you found out that you were putting the minimum in, Frank, it's 700 hours for an entire year. If you did 700 hours of training for an entire year, and we're gonna go into that breakdown on what that needs to look like, because Frank's gonna be my guinea pig. We're gonna get Frank to Kona. This now YouTube just took a turn, and we turned it in from you can do it to guinea pig Frank is going to do this. We're gonna document Frank and his training. We're gonna get Frank to Kona. And people that don't have your background may need to commit to 1,000 hours a year of training for 3 years.
Is there any, faster way?
We already know you've got thousands of hours of endurance training logged in your history, right? So that kind of fast tracks your progress, leapfrogs you in the line to be able to do this at 700 hours, but it's still gonna take a lot. 700 hours is a lot, it's a big commitment. So what does that 700 hours? What does that 700 hours look like? Okay, so a typical week, you really need about 3.5 hours of swimming. Okay, you'll need 10 hours of biking, 5 hours of running, okay, and 90 minutes, an hour and a half of strength, core work. That's what your weekly volume looks like. So out of that, you need at least 3 swims a week. So that 3.5 hours, at least 3 times, up to 4, okay? Now you could do 5 or 6 because frequency matters way more than duration. But one of those, if you did 5 or 6, one of those would have to be at least an hour swim. Then on the bike, that needs to be minimum of 3 bikes a week, maximum of 5. You don't really need more than that, okay? And on the run, we're gonna say minimum of 3, maximum of 6. So I don't want you to run every day. And then your strength sessions, that needs to be a minimum of 2 sessions per week, okay? So if we just did one 90-minute session, we wouldn't get the same benefits if we did 2 45-minute sessions. That becomes the big goal. So these are the things that you need to do once we have the body weight dialed, which you've got. I mean, you don't really have to manipulate that a lot. So let's talk about your weight real quick here, okay? We'll get down to the nitty gritty. What do you weigh right
I
now?
hope you can edit this and find something useful. I probably weigh 152 right now.
152, that's pretty good.
So I've got low body fat, whatever low is.
Very, very low.
Yeah.
So low, in fact, that when the water in the YMCA pool is 76 degrees, he has to wear a wetsuit.
Dude.
So here we are, Frank Levy, Dimond owner, project qualified for Kona. Do you think that's achievable?
I do. I feel like that much training I should be able to qualify for Kona.
Right.
And I just have one part of my race that has to be corrected, which is the same part that everyone has to correct, which is the last half of their run. They need to not walk.
Right.
But that's way easier said than done.
Right. So we tackled that in a couple different videos, and I have a really important one. I've talked to Frank a lot about this, but that really comes down to practicing this nutrition on all your training rides. So fueling during is the most important part of it. Okay, so two big things: ounces per hour, okay? Sodium, okay? Those are the two big things that you need, okay? The third biggest thing is calories per hour, okay? And again, most of those calories are gonna come just straight up carbohydrate.
My favorite.
We have to replace all the sodium that we're losing, otherwise we get into big trouble, right? And so sodium for some people could be as low as 200 milligrams an hour. For others, it could be 1.5 grams per hour, right? So huge variance in sodium. It takes a lot to kind of dial that in, find that specific number. You can do a sweat test. Gatorade Endurance will send you a sweat test that you can do at home, find out your sodium content in your sweat, figure that out, solve that equation right away. Okay, we know that if we get too dehydrated in any race, we have zero chance of running the back half of the marathon. And of course, this was a big one we talked about. How many times did you pee on the bike in your last Ironman?
4.
4 times, but this was a big goal, right? This is something we worked for. Because your previous Ironmans, how many times did you pee on a bike?
It was 17 years ago, and I was very set to take in salt, and it was a very cool day, so I peed more than 10.
Evacuation complete.
But we talked a lot about this, right? Okay, so that's the goal. If you don't pee twice on the bike in an Ironman, you will not run to your potential. Okay, so this is really important. Again, my fluid intake per hour in not hot race is gonna be 40 plus ounces per hour. So 40 to 48 ounces per hour. In a hot race like Kona or what Des Moines was, I'm gonna have to jump that up. And it's tricky in a race like Des Moines where it starts cool, gets hot, because you have to make that adjustment during the bike, right? You can't just slam all that fluid when you're not losing it, because it's just gonna make you sick, right? So you have to make that adjustment on the fly. But that would jump all the way up into the 60 plus ounces per hour. And so to do that, the only effective way to do that is to train your stomach. That's gonna be the most annoying part. You're gonna look at how many times you have to pee during your workout. You're gonna be like, this is really bad. But in about 4 weeks' time, your body will have adapted to that. Now, if you stop, you're gonna lose that in about 10 days, right? So you're gonna have to readapt to that, right? But because you've already adapted once, you do it way faster the next time, right? So anytime that I want to jump back in and do some training and train my gut so I can race again, I know that I need about a 2-week period and I can be back up there and my fluid intake will be where it is.
All right, sounds like I've got a new coach.
He doesn't have a coach, but he's got an advisor here right now. There you have it, Frank Levy. We're going to reach this goal sooner or later, right?
Yeah.
With the help of Piedmontese. Thanks, Frank. If you enjoyed this video, you want to see more of it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I've got all kinds of great Ironman tips on training, nutrition, racing, amazing content. I would love for you to join me on this journey. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Check it out every week.